It's Entrepreneur Friday here on the Noon Business Hour, and this afternoon the spotlight is on a local family-owned construction materials business. We welcome Marty Ozinga, president of Ozinga in Mokina. First thing I have to ask you, the pronunciation of the last name. It seems like everyone that we talk to, every time someone says it, it's a little bit different. Give us the official pronunciation here.
Well, Ozinga is a okay way to say it. I'm good with that.
Oh, okay, good.
I had that with Crydell all my life, too.
Yeah, try being Cisco Cotto, all right? It's a nightmare in many ways. So family-owned business for, what is it, 4 generations now? Tell us a little bit about Ozinga.
Yeah, 4 generations in the Chicagoland area, established in 1928 in Evergreen Park on the southwest side. And I'm in the 4th generation with 5 of my brothers. There's 6 brothers and a cousin in our generation, and we have 32 kids between the 7 of us. So, yeah, a lot of family.
Talk about the dynamic in a family-owned business that's been around so long with so many members kind of involved. Is it just different people who are gifted differently, working in different areas, or how does that function?
Yeah, just like any business, you try to play to everybody's strengths, and you try to best understand where people fit the best and where they're called to, and how they can plug in the best and add the most to the business, and then play to those strengths and make sure that people feel challenged and just satisfied and fulfilled in the job that they're doing.
How does it feel to know that you have helped develop the Chicago Skyline?
Well, there's a lot of pride in it. I mean, we love Chicago. Chicago's home. And I think for all of our coworkers, delivering materials to these jobs and looking around and seeing Chicago, there's just a ton of pride in it. What is
the most the one that you have worked on that you think back now and it's amazing?
Well, I think, I'm a lifelong Chicago sports fan. We've supplied concrete to the Comiskey Park at the time, and Soldier Field and Wrigley Field, and those are the funnest to me to be involved in the sports stadiums and those kind of things. But just a lot of tall buildings around town, and then little neighborhood things too as well. And
it must be very competitive in this market.
Yeah, it is. It's a tough business. Every day you just got to get up and do your best, but yeah, it's tough.
Over the years, have there been, whether it's technological changes or otherwise, that I would imagine the business today, the concrete business, is not what it was 20 years ago, 40 years ago, or is it pretty much the same?
No, I think like anything else, the computer age is changing it all the time. So, I mean, our trucks have all the technology of, GPS technology and turn-by-turn directions, and the product itself, the technology is changing, so we can do more architecturally with concrete than you could before. So you'll see a lot of these very, very tall buildings that people learn technology in Chicago that's transferred all over the world, actually.
So is that the sort of thing where you're constantly thinking about the mix, working on it, maybe even coming up with new mixtures?
Yeah, we have a research laboratory where we're constantly working on new ways to make concrete better, more sustainable, and just higher performance concrete. It's part of the job.
Have you done much overseas, or has this always been Chicago?
Not a lot of overseas work. We've sourced some of our materials overseas. Some of our materials have come from Asia and Europe and all over the place, but not a lot of overseas work, mainly in the United States.
Has it been maybe some pressure? You've been family-owned. Is there ever pressure to sort of go outside of the family and bring other people in, or maybe even, I know you're more regional, but even going public? I mean, any of those sorts of pressures in a long-time family-owned business?
Well, we do compete with big, huge multinational corporations, and sometimes they have different advantages. They're in other countries and whatnot. But we have many, many people who work for us outside of the family. Obviously, there's over 2,000 people working with us, so a lot of wonderful people from all different skills and backgrounds that are working with the family member, alongside the family members. So we're really happy about that kind of thing.
Tell us a little bit about the changes that may be coming up in your group.
I mean, there's a lot of work going on. Obviously, it's that time of year in Chicago. The summer's here, but when we look at our business in the Chicago area, it's busier than it was even a year ago. And so it continues to be a lot of bid activity.
Does that indicate, you think, maybe the national climate for building and for that kind of expenditures?
Yeah, it continues to be strong. We hear it from all over the country, actually. It just seems like there's a lot of optimism. There was some concern that it was going to slow down a bit, but there continues to be a lot of strength in the economy.
Are there particular areas that maybe are doing better than others? I don't know if it's private, public, or condos, residential. Where do you see it?
Yeah, in Chicago specifically, there's a lot of still multifamily apartment high-rise buildings. There's a lot of that continues to go on all over the city. And then you still see a lot of the warehouse distribution, related to Amazon and different things like that. So, and then even in the suburbs now, we're seeing more and more residential single-family housing over more so than last year.
Yeah, the multifamily here in the city, it's sort of with property values, you kind of, to build a single-family home isn't quite as cost-effective, especially if you're like a speculative builder. I mean, you need to get more people in there if you're going to make it work.
Yeah, it definitely seems. Yeah, the apartment buildings seem to definitely be the trend in the last few years. There's not nearly as many condo buildings getting built, so that's what the young people I think want. And then, like you said, it's less of a commitment, so it makes sense for the developer.
Is there an optimism that's going to keep going? You think? What are you thinking? Maybe a year or two out.
Well, we're continuing to hire every week as if this is going to continue for a while, and so we're optimistic, and that's the way we're going to continue to behave.
All right, Marty. Good to have you on the show. Appreciate it. Always love
Thank you for having me.
Having a Friday Entrepreneur in person and able to sort of talk about the wider Chicago construction season.
Well, think of you as we look at the skylines.
Yes,
thank you very much.
And see the red and white trucks as well. Marty Ozinga, president of Ozinga in Mokina. If you missed any part of today's Noon Business Hour, the replay podcast will be available shortly at WBBMNewsRadio.com and the Radio.com app.